And we are live once again for our third amazing interview about sacred geometry with the lovely Jackie. How are you, Jackie?
Hello, I'm well. How are you?
Amazing. I cannot wait to hear about your experience of sacred geometry. So, can you tell us a little bit about the class, how you experienced it, what you use the sacred geometry for?
So, the sacred geometry you use for pretty much everything. I no, really. I mean, I have such a hard time explaining it even to people now because it's sort of like once you start using sacred geometry, it's like, why, how did I ever really do anything without it, you know? Um, but yeah, I guess mainly for gridding, for protection is the best thing or the main thing I use sacred geometry for. Um, but it's part of everything, part of all of us, right? The class itself was well, I had kind of a unique experience, I think, because I did Sacred Geometry 1 tacked on to the end of many, many, many other things. And it was sort of like my breaking point. Because there's a very long little something that you do in Sacred Geometry 1. And I got a download and it just like hit that thing that needed to be hit. And I was like, I hate Sacred Geometry 1. It's the worst thing ever. But I've since done it 2 more times, and now it's like my favorite my favorite experience and my favorite opportunity.
Interestingly, sacred geometry for me was the class that I had the biggest resistance to, and it's the thing that I most use. So I agree. It's a good telltale sign that there's something very good on the other side when there's huge resistance. In the lineage
Yeah.
time.
Well, I didn't even know I had resistance, and then we were sitting in this long meditation, and I just didn't feel very good. But yeah, now it's the best, and it's really cool because with sacred geometry, especially if you do it multiple times, you can really see growth and evolution.
Do you so you run a successful practice, and I'm wondering, for me, I actually integrated sacred geometry into my business, my mini me yoga, and I actually use it within my the materials and such like, and my marketing and things like that. Do you actually use sacred geometry in that way as well?
Yeah, I sneak it into quite a few things. Um, yeah, it's in there if you look for it. It's not very obvious probably, but certainly before anything important, I use sacred geometry, preparing my space and things like that. But then also definitely in marketing, definitely in I have a secret wish to paint a mural on an abandoned house in my neighborhood, and I want to paint the sacred geometries onto it.
Oh my goodness, that's so amazing. I know a lady who was building her house, and so they put the sacred geometry on the inside of the walls of the
Mm,
whole house, as they were. I thought that was lovely.
that's really cool. I would love to do that.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool. And so, with sacred geometry, what would you say to somebody who has never experienced it, or perhaps is in doubt of whether to go to the class or not? What kind of thing would you say to set, to kind of let them know that it would be useful? Because I think sometimes people think sacred geometry is just for spiritual people, or or, I don't know, or people that are
Yeah.
that mindset, but it's not the case.
No, I mean, I think when you think about mathematicians and stuff like sacred geometries and everything, if you think about molecular structure and like now my science is coming out, but if you start thinking about molecular structures of things, it's all made of sacred geometry.
Mm.
And that's every cell, every molecule, everything. So you can think that's spiritual, and it is, but it's also not. It's also science. I mean, they're the same thing in my book, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think that's just great to remind people that this is for everybody. So you don't have to have any experience. You can just rock up at a sacred geometry class and get all the tools and have everything ready to go.
Totally. And it's one of those things that's like so all encompassing that it's difficult to describe because it's a small class. It sort of feels like an add-on. It's kind of like, okay, maybe I have to do this for a prereq or, you know, whatever. But then once you do it, it's like, why did I not want to do that in the first place? Because it really does become integrated into your life in such a huge way.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It just whizzes by. I wonder if we could get you back on next week to talk about astral travel.
Perhaps.
To share your experiences of astral traveling.
Definitely. Using sacred geometry, indeed.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody. We'll see you again soon.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.